Hey, everybody. What you are about to see is an awesome podcast with the owner of Red Naps, Matt Kirschner. But before you check that out, I highly recommend you go look at his episode with our Thrive Social project to get some context and some meat on the bone of exactly who Matt is and what got him to where he's at today. Welcome, everybody, to Thrive Well podcast. I'm here with Matt Kirschner, who owns Red Naps in Rochester, Michigan. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What month were we in? February? January? Wow,
yeah.
It was January.
It's crazy.
Okay, so we're in month 5 now. Mm-hmm. What has happened the last 4 months?
Just a lot of self-reflection and just trying to plan for growth. Something we talked about a little bit earlier. And the problem I have, though, with growth is I also capped out a 5-year stamp, right? So when I took over Naps, my entire intention was to have it for 5 years, make enough money to launch my next thing, right? And it's an industry I knew, so I felt comfortable in it.
Right.
It was a good low-cost opportunity that I knew I can get into, and it's one of the hardest industries to be successful in. So my theory was, if I can get through this, and I can get through one of the hardest industries there is, and make it successful, then everything I do, it's not going to be easy, but I at least got done the hard thing first. For some reason in my life, I always got to do it the hard way.
The hard way.
Always. And part of my story, that we shared last time, just being a knucklehead, going through prison and all that stuff, I learned the hard way. But at some point, I learned. So I had that same theory walking into Naps. It has a great foundation. The only problem I found now, and I guess I saw this, a year ago too, is that it is what it is, right? And I'm a creative person, and I want to be creative. I want to have fun. I want to add new stuff. But at the end of the day, people just want a burger deluxe and a chocolate malt.
Yeah.
They don't want anything new. They want the same bun, all these things that I don't personally value. So that has been a challenge, trying to have fun and be creative. But it just made me realize that I just need to give the people what they want. Mm-hmm. So we really just refined our menu. And I think since then, I took a bunch of stuff off, and we burgers, chicken sandwiches, and milkshakes. And we just be the best of what they want.
Americans just want a burger and malt.
That's it. Yeah.
Damn.
They don't want any good food. They don't want the wraps. They don't want the turkey burgers.
Lettuce. Get out of here.
Nothing. Yeah. I tried it all. They just were not interested.
What about the cookies on the milkshakes? Are they into that?
Those are actually going really well.
Okay, so they're into the fancy milkshakes.
Yeah, but they just want the milkshake, right?
Yeah.
They don't want me to come in with this new chai tea or this new beverage or whatever.
Matcha.
They don't want
leave it at the back door.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's been challenging, but also at the same time, it's just opened my eyes. You know what? Instead of trying to make it something it's not, instead of trying to gold plate a bronze thing, just let it be what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Get the experience, get the knowledge I need to be successful for the next thing. So.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think it's maybe, I don't know, because I've never been a restaurateur, but it's always been that way for 72 years, right?
73 in July.
73, wow. Yeah. So it's been that way forever, pretty much, right? Yeah. Multiple generations have gone through eating at Naps, and then this new young blood gets in there, and they're like, no, we still just want it the way it always was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like trying to change any tradition. Like if you always celebrated a certain holiday, like in my family, we celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. Yep. No real good reason. Like I don't think there's any reason. We just do.
Right.
And now celebrating it on Christmas, I'm like, that feels weird.
For sure.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
So, okay. When you took over and you realized, well, I guess in the last 4 months, truly realizing I can't really shift this menu in any different direction. It's got to stay the way it is. Are you still, one of the things that I thought was so unique is that you kept on the same meat, and you kept on the same buns, and you kept on, the staple items.
Yeah.
So are you still doing that? Is that part of that business plan? You're like, yeah, we're just going to keep it the way it has always been.
For sure, yeah. I have an opportunity to buy some better meats, some better seasoning recipes, but I know in my gut that people don't want that.
Yeah.
Right? They want, and it's actually inspired me too. It's like, I changed. They used to flatten the patties when I first took over, and I was like, yeah, but you don't get any of the flavor in there. You can't have the juices left. You can't cook at the temperature. So I was like, I pivoted that. But I'm coming back with a new marketing ploy. It's like the flat patties back, right? So a lot of people are talking about it. So you know what? Let's just give them what they want.
Yes.
I can be creative in 100 other things for the rest of my life, and everything else I build would be solely mine, not 73 years of somebody else or 70 years of somebody else. So yeah, I'm bringing the flat patty back, and I'm just trying to really just promote the fact that the same naps you remember. And that's why I didn't change anything on the inside too. Like my gut was telling me like people want to step back in time. People want to have that familiarity. They want to be comfortable.
Right.
I just tried. I was like, well, from the menu perspective, maybe not. And it just it's not.
You're like, no, wasn't working.
Yeah.
But what a lesson, honestly, as you were talking here, what was kind of coming over me was thinking like, what a great lesson in entrepreneurship of mastering the boredom.
Yeah.
Like if there is anything entrepreneurs get wrong, it's that.
Yeah.
Like we get bored and so we want to ping pong around and we want to try the next thing or the next trend or get fancy with something. And it is what diminishes the ultimate successful thing that we actually have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've done that a lot. In real estate in particular, we tried to avoid all of the things that personally to me, I was like, I don't think professional realtors actually need that. I'd rather teach a realtor how to fish than to give them the fish.
Yes.
And in our industry, it's like, no, leads. I got leads for you. I got leads for you. And it's the reason you go work for that broker or whatever. And I never wanted to be that way. I was like, well, you're not teaching them how to be great realtors, though.
Exactly.
Right? We're missing so many things. And at the end of the day, most realtors just want leads.
Yep.
And so it's like, all right, well, let's do that too. We're going to do that too. You get the flat patty
what
too.
they want. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so you've talked a lot about, and this is near and dear to my heart, how important your team is and how much it feels like family. And you also shared very vulnerably in your talk about, biggest fear is kind of rejection and abandonment. And as business owners, people do come and go.
For sure. Especially in restaurants.
Yeah. Oh, especially in restaurants. I mean, the attrition rate over there must be just
Insane.
ungodly. Yeah.
Luckily, we've had pretty much the same core team for the last 3 years, but like everywhere around me, I've seen turnover 3, 4, 5 times.
Oh, yeah. My brother-in-law owns a few restaurants in town, and it's just constant. And especially after the pandemic, we know lots of restaurant owners, and even in Troy, Rochester Hills, right, that they're just like, it is so hard to keep good people. And good people is what makes it all go around.
100%, yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter how good that patty is if it's just crap service or crap environment. Okay, so back to the importance of good culture and the family vibes and a great team, talented people working with you, people you care about, that you're doing much more than just giving them a paycheck and a place to work. That's phenomenal. How do you handle continuing that effort of cultivating culture within Red Naps?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, my entire focus, because I didn't really know anything, right? I've managed restaurants before, but owning and managing are two different ball games, right? So I knew pretty much nothing walking in, just clean slate, trying to figure it out. But I knew my entire intention was to create an environment where people wanted to be, not where they needed to be. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying a little bit too, as far as like, the patty change or trying to teach realtors. What I did was I created an environment I wanted to be in, right? And I created an environment that an entrepreneur wanted to be in. And now I'm starting to realize like certain people need certain disciplines and it's important for me to not set up unrealistic expectations. So I've been really, really fortunate with my team. So like even to the point where, the people that want a little bit more discipline and want a little bit me over their shoulder, communicate that, And so now that instead of me just walking blind and not knowing what's happening, they're saying like, hey, maybe we try this and maybe we add this. And so like, I'm overwhelmingly like grateful for my team because like they help hold me accountable too. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you don't really get that anywhere. Most people are scared to say something to the owner or the boss or whatever. There's like a wall put up, but I just wanted them to know that I'm here. My door is always open with my managers, which I used to call my leaders when we first met. I made a pivot because I realized I wasn't doing them a service, A, for the next job they're in, but also B, I wasn't setting a tone for the rest of the team, right? When I'm not here, this person isn't in charge and this person is leading. So pivots like that have been helpful. And at the same token, it's like everyone else is understanding of it. They're just like, they're receptive of it. And they're telling me that this is what they want. So the decisions I'm making now are solely predicated, always been solely predicated on my team first, but now it's like a little bit above that too. It's like, okay, what are the things I'm not seeing? So I do, and I've done this since I brought my managers on, but I do a 5-minute meeting with them every shift that they work, right? So if they're opening the store, we sit for 5 minutes. If they're getting ready to close the store, we sit for 5 minutes. And I start by start with you, questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to bring up to me, right? So I let them have their thing. And then for each individual, I try to specify, okay, how can I get you to the next stage? I was talking a little bit to your husband, and I had this girl that works with me. Her name's Rachel. She's going to school for business right now, and she wants to get into real estate. And so the last meeting I had with her, I said, look, I never want to lose you. I want you to stay with it forever, but at the same time, I want to get you to the next stage. So when you finish school, I have the perfect place for you to work.
Lovely.
If you guys are open,
yes.
right? But I was like, it's an environment that I feel like I'm trying to cultivate at the same time. So I feel like you would thrive in this
Yes.
situation. And now she seems super excited about it. So she's
love
like got
that.
a little bit of school to figure out, but like she's just an awesome individual, willing to learn, willing to grow, willing to do whatever it takes to get to the next stage. She's helping me right now develop, like I'm terrible with events.
Okay.
Like my mind does not work that way.
Yeah.
Luckily hers does. So we're working on an event right now that I can do in-house every Monday. Like I talked about music a little bit, how I can bring my love for music back in. And we're going to sell out like 10 tickets every Monday. We're going to have a local band perform in Nap. So it's like small,
Love it.
exclusive. She's helping me draw out the entire outline. And the goal is to create an Excel sheet to where we can do any event in the future, right? Plug and play. This is what we need for this, this, and this. So I'm trying to elevate her knowledge, because if she is getting into real estate and she needs to go show a house, you're essentially setting up an event. At least from my perspective, I'm not hands-on with it, but like when you do an open house, you do need to have some sort of
mini
ambience.
event, for sure.
So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that within my 5-minute meetings that each individual is getting what they need for the next stage. So like Amanda, the one I was talking about, and went to the next spot.
Yeah.
I just tell her like things you want to think about. They're going to try to hold you forever. Like they've already offered her a management position. They've been trying to like take her full time this entire time. She communicates that with me, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, just don't get stuck. Unless you love it, like you love restaurants more than anything in the world, it's really easy to get stuck, because from a serving perspective, I mean,
That's
you
it,
can make
right?
$500-600 in a 5-hour shift.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So I'm just, whatever they say to you, just remember in the back of the head, you got me saying like, you're capable of anything. Because
Right.
like her first day, she came back, she's like, oh, I'm so great at selling alcohol. I said, no, you're so great at selling. You have a natural ability to sell products. Don't limit yourself to just being able to sell
Right,
alcohol, right?
right.
So I think me spending time with them all individually is how we continue to like grow and bond more, even if it is just a 5-minute meeting, right?
Yeah.
But 5-minute meeting, 1, 2, 3 times a week over the course of the month, you know, you got an hour worth of time just constricted to these 5-minute meetings.
Yeah,
So,
lovely. I love that concept. I was thinking around your ability to really hear what they need and want and help cultivate that within them and come up with creative ways for them to have both, which is awesome. We were talking about structure. So you're like, I'm learning that some people need more structure. Around here, I call it structure that's not stifling.
Yes.
Right? People come maybe to the restaurant business thinking like, I'm going to have so much flexibility. I can come pop in and out and tell my people I don't want to work a certain day or hour. We both know, like, if you want to be successful, the time on task matters.
for sure.
It's the same in real estate. People always think, well, I'm going to go there because of flexibility and I can do whatever I want when I want, and then just pop in, make several $1,000s and
Right.
pop right out. But what we have found, my experience over time is, you know, if you have no structure, people will blame you for no
sure.
results, right? And they're coming to be led by you in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
So we have structure that's not stifling. That's our goal always. So when we annually plan, quarterly plan, whatever it may be, we look to create those moments, those 5-minute meetings, or a huddle, or a team meeting, or marketing meeting that is intentful, purposeful, but structured enough that we all understand what pathway we're walking.
Yep.
'Cause I think as people, right? It doesn't matter what industry. We want to know what pathway we're on.
Absolutely.
We're always seeking to make sure, like, is this the right pathway? Am I in my purpose? Am I in my passion? One thing I was hearing you say about your folks is, you know, they love working with you. They're loyal to you. I mean, even hearing these other folks get different opportunities and still wanting to be a part of your world, I mean, commendable, incredible. I love that. I was thinking about how generations now, and I have a 19-year-old son, and we hire younger folks, and we have, you know, older folks that work for us, but the generation that we're working with mostly right now wants every moment of their job, of their weeks, of their months, of their years to be passion driven only.
Yeah.
and it's not realistic.
For sure.
It doesn't matter how many fun things we put in there and how much incredible culture is surrounded. Like the idea that life is full of passion at all times, 100% of the time, is just unrealistic. And I know as a business owner, that's something I'm constantly looking to, like, how do you level that playing field? You know, how do you help people understand, like, earn the ability to choose?
For sure.
Do the work so you can get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And then you get more opportunity brought to you, just naturally.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do you handle that as a restaurateur? And for yourself, you're even talking about it, right? Like, hey, I love Red Naps, and this is a great opportunity. It's a 5-year run. I'm a little bit bored, and I'm learning that, you know, got to go back to what works.
Yeah.
So when you look at beyond 5 years, you know, beyond Red Naps, or in conjunction with Red Naps, like multiple businesses, what would be your next step?
Yeah, so it's something I've put a lot of thought into, and like the last like few weeks have been like really intense with it. But I think just creating a marketing machine and then creating products on the outside that I can market is probably what makes the most sense. So my wife and I are currently working on an FBA fulfilled by Amazon business, so e-commerce.
Okay.
We found a product that we like that has a low amount of sellers that we think we could do really well in. I got like 26 marketing ideas, like how we can make this funny and like not an ad, but like making an ad. So I think that's probably going to be the move, solely based on, this is why I made the decision, is we're working on having kids right now. And I was like, how cool would it be if I spent the first 10 years of them growing up running a business from my house so that I can raise them for the first 10 years. And then that still puts me under 40 years old, right? And then I'm like, you know, after they're doing sports and they're hanging out with their friends and they don't want to hang out with me as much, I can go build something great, right? So my long-term goal is to create a bee business, a big $1 billion thing, right?
Yeah.
That's been a dream and goal of mine forever. And it took me a lot of falling on my face at naps to realize that instead of setting up a small business, the next thing I have to do is set up a big business with the intention of building a big business, because I didn't have that knowledge opening Naps. It was just like, I want to open a business.
Yeah.
And I got into it and I'm like, oh, there's so many different facets of business. There's so many different levels and layers, and you have to be very intentional about what you want when you're designing the thing. So when I first opened Naps, I was just like, you know, this is a 5-year marker, which I think honestly like helped keep my team kind of locked in too, in a way, because they knew that there was an end goal too, right? And communicating from the beginning, like, don't get stuck in restaurants. Like, my brother has been stuck in restaurants for a long time, and his passion is technology and being able to work on computers all the time, but he's stuck, you know?
Yeah.
But he's not stuck, right? In his head, he's stuck. Right. So my goal with him was like, okay, I'm going to pull you out of this place you've been for 14 years. Let's figure out what the next step is, right? And not only with him, but with every single person there, I just want them to think differently on what do you want, right? You got to sit and take time for yourself. Like, even with myself recently, I consume so much content because I feel like the more I get in, the more I learn, the faster I grow, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't taking any me time.
Yeah.
And so instead of my normal podcast listened to on the way in, I turned off the podcast recently this last week, and I was like, who am I? Matt, oh, by the way, Matt, are you doing good? Like, is everything good? Like, so having this like more self-reflection is helping me see everything else a lot clearer. Whereas before it's just like consume, and it just consumed my life, right? Yeah. So that has been a huge portion, and now I'm able to like have them ask the questions. I had someone that like, I do mental health days per quarter, so they just asked me to take a couple off, and I said, you know, when you take this time, just like, you don't have to listen to me, but like for at least like 1 hour, even if it's 20 minutes, just sit. Who am I? What do I like? What can I do for the rest of my life? Because like a lot of the people that work for me, at least in the front of the house, are like 16 to 22, right? So like they're at that age where I'm trying to figure everything out. I don't know what's left from right. And I remember when I was 22, I was going like, all my friends are graduating from college. Like, I'm working at this restaurant. Like, what am I doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. So like
comparison.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So now I'm trying to like be the voice for them, essentially. It's just like, just ask, like, what do you like, right? You can monetize anything you like. You know what I'm saying? You can make $50K a year online talking about the Smurfs if you wanted to, right?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And so like I really want them to be able to think differently, because just because you chose a career and you went to school for this thing, you know, at least in my experience, most of the friends that I all watched graduate now aren't doing that thing, or wanted to pivot, or hate that job, or whatever it is. So it's like, give yourself that time to decide, like, can I do this forever, or do I want to, or is there, can I do this for 10 years to get to the next thing, like I'm doing with naps, right? Take 5 years, like I know I can grind out 7 days a week, open to close for 5 years. I've done it my entire life for other people. Why can't I do it for myself? And which isn't totally the case now. It's like 80 hours, but still, you know.
Yeah, a lot of hours.
Yeah.
A lot of hours,
But,
majority of time.
But I found a way to, like, the content brings me so much. Like, I love making content so much. So it's like now most of my days are spent filming content and editing content, whereas before it was like all hands on at naps.
Yep.
So
yeah. So you're moving into a new chapter there. Yeah. Well, you said something that reminded me. A mentor of mine once said that people and life fall into 3 categories, which is season, reason, lifetime. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something I found even with my 19-year-old, that it's hard for someone who hasn't had experience, hasn't had much hardship, doesn't have the wisdom to think bigger than beyond right now, right? Sure. Which goes hand in hand with your affirmation right now, which is I'm doing the best I can with the knowledge I have today. Yep. I know I botched that a bit, but that's the concept. And with my 19-year-old, right, it's hard for him. He's almost paralyzed with not knowing.
Yeah.
And we're working really hard on saying, hey, you don't need to know the next 5 years, the next 10 years. It's totally okay. How about we start with the next week? Like, what do you want to achieve in the next week? And then that stepping stone leads to another one and another one. I love that concept, and I love that you're a place, like, who would think a burger and malt place in Rochester, Michigan, you know, is cultivating young people, young adults to say, hey, slow down, let's think a little bit bigger and think a little bit. It's so funny, especially, I mean, God, and as an entrepreneur, most entrepreneurs, right, are after the money and the dollar signs, and there is a select few of us where that wasn't the motivator. Yeah. The motivator was something like changing people's lives or having a platform where you could help bring people out of extreme challenge and into a more introspective mindset. So, you know, entrepreneurship, it's one of those things. Okay, I have another question, a really good one. You had talked about in our original interview that you wanted, if you ever got out of that situation that you were in, that you were going to help others.
For sure.
That you're going to use this to say, like, oh my God, borrow the belief from me. If I can get out of this and move on and persevere, you can too. Yeah. Where does Red Naps fall into that? Where did that become like, oh, this is the platform, this is my right next step?
I don't know. It just right place, right time. It's like so cliche and stupid, but I don't know. I saw an opportunity. And I guess I could take a step back. I spent 5.5 years working at a Dolly's Pizzeria. There's like, it used to be like 30 locations, and it dwindled down to like 6 when I was there, and now I think it's like 2 locations. Right. Funny enough, the Dolly's son took over the business and decided to build a real estate business instead. So he put all his money over there, and then the pizza kind of fell short.
See, it's the burnout.
Yeah, for sure. But there was I went through 3 ownership changes there, so like I watched a lot of what not to do. But at the last owner, they offered me 5% equity to stay at 20 years, or I was 22 years old.
Wow.
And I was like, this is
pretty
it.
Bold.
Yeah. And I was like, this is it. I've wanted this my entire life. Like, this is it, right? And I sat and reflected. I started thinking how much we did, because I took it from when I first started there, we're doing $136,000 a year, like basically nothing, right? With my marketing efforts, not knowing marketing, I was just doing what I thought made sense. So going to the schools and churches, we got it up to $336,000.
Okay.
So that's when they offered me that. But I'm thinking, like, there's 4 other owners. Right. I'd be the 5th. I'm not going to make any money. There's nothing left. Yeah. Even if we took it to $1 million business, like, I'm going to be putting in 100 hours a week so that they can take a piece off the pie. So I ended up turning down that opportunity. But I said in that same time, I said, if I ever get another opportunity, I don't care what it is, I'm just going to go all in on it, right? Get my reps in, essentially. And so when Naps came up, that's what I did. I turned Dolly's down, but like, this place had been around for 73 years. It's got to be doing something, right? But still so naive, like, as far as like understanding how to do everything. But no, it's been like such an amazing learning experience. I don't even know if I fully got to your question or ran around it or not.
No, I think you did. It sounds like it was the next right step because it was the next opportunity that arose for you. Yeah. And so using that platform still. So what has you out there going like, I'm going to hand out milkshakes and I'm going to pop in and give free things to the Target cashier. Like,
Yeah.
what is it that brought you to that?
I've been creating content realistically for like 14 years, except it started with music. So
Okay.
I had just gotten out of homelessness, and I was staying in a house. There was 3 of us there, and this kid came over for a party one night, and we got to chopping up. He's like, I don't really got anywhere to stay. My parents kicked me out, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, dude, I got spare room. Like, you know, whatever. Him and I instantly hit it off, and he used to write music, and I would sit, I'm like, man, he's writing music all day, like 10, 12 hours. I've never seen anybody work like this. Wow. It's insane. So I was like, I put this PowerPoint presentation together. I was like, all right, I'm going to be your producer, and I'll be your engineer, and then we're going to do this with it. And I just got like so excited about the business aspect, the behind the scenes aspect. So for 8 years, him and I spent 12, 14-hour days just making music, like literally tens of thousands of songs.
Wow.
Problem is, we were too scared to put anything out.
Oh, no.
And we went through 3 computer crashes with thousands of songs. I mean,
gone.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
And we didn't know any better. We didn't know what to do. We're just like, okay, I guess we got to
do it
restart.
again.
Yeah, literally.
Shoot. Okay.
So I spent a lot of time creating content, just audio based. And then I pivoted into podcasting. He ended up moving back up north, and I was like, well, I could do audio. Like I just discovered podcasting. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna reach out to some people and see if I can get some clients. So one gentleman in Arizona, I locked him in. A Major League Baseball player, I locked him in. One other, and so I was like, okay, I got this little thing going. You know, it was allowing me money that I didn't have expendable. I was living paycheck to paycheck at the time. I was like able to get my wife something nice, or not my wife at the time, girlfriend at the time, but whatever. I was able to get her something nice, where I was like, I was never able to do stuff like that. And then I opened Naps. So I was like, okay, I got to put the editing to the side, and then I just got to go all in on video. I got to learn it. I got to figure it out. What do people like about it? Like 6 years ago, when I first got out, I had a flip phone, and I was like, I don't need Instagram, like technology, blah, blah, blah. I was like so resistant against it, right? But I was like, as soon as I realized how important it was for business, I was like, I got to learn this stuff.
Right.
So the content drives me, right? It's something that allows me to express my creativity. Even if it's a way, like nowadays, it's like really copy and paste, because I realize for growth, people want familiarity. They want to be able to come to your page and see the same thing over and over, which I don't totally get, but what I've noticed is starting to like give us more growth than we had before.
Okay.
So I really love the content aspect. I spent a decade trying to get out of restaurants. Like I was like, I need to get out of these, and then I bought one. So
and then you're like, just kidding. I'm
exactly.
back. No,
but that I can express my creativity through content and still have like the business going on the side and learn and stuff.
Right.
So.
I kind of equate that idea of you saying like, I still get the creative outlet. I still get to do the things that really light my soul on fire.
Yeah.
And I've got the core business that's just smart. It's mundane. It's what we got to do as adults. I equate this all the time to like, there are so many things in life that we don't even trigger in our minds as these mundane activities that are necessities that we just have to do as human beings on this earth, like brushing our teeth. Is anyone just like, I love brushing my teeth? In fact, I'm doubling down. I'm going to do it for 6 minutes.
Exactly.
Nobody. No one really loves laundry. Some people learn to love it, but it's not something that you're like, this is one of the funnest activities ever. We can get the girls involved. We're going to have a good time, glass of wine. Like, it just isn't. It isn't the case. So there's so many little aspects that if you just change the way you looked at things, the things you would look at change. Right? Like you just realize that's a part of making my life whole. It's a part of making my life happy. So I love it. I think that's great advice for people to hear, especially entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I was asked recently to talk in Chicago at a business school that brings in about 10 colleges. They're all entrepreneurs. Some are in apprenticeships, and it was going to be around, how to build businesses, how to get out there and start communicating what your value is, and how to do that with some grace and influence.
For sure.
And one of the things I kept coming up against as I was thinking about this opportunity was I really want people to understand how hard this is. Like the glory of the end result is, a decade plus
For sure.
after day one.
Yep.
And people, I think, mistake that. And that's why we get so many unhappy entrepreneurs
and so many people that quit after year one, too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. In real estate alone, our attrition rate year one is 82%.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brokerages my size year over year is 30%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a never-ending rat race.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That's why when I got in, I'm like, hey, the gap is how do you stop the bleeding? So I'm just going to sit there.
Yeah, literally.
We're going to keep that back door shut.
Just keep your hand on it at all times. No more
Can't go
bleeding.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we built in things like you have, right? Like, how do I help cultivate better thinking,
Yeah.
better skills? How do I help people realize that, not all things in life are going to be all the things you want to do? And that's okay.
Yep.
You can find other outlets. All right. So what's next for Red Naps? You said it's 5-year plan. Are you keeping this baby in your back pocket? Are you not sure what's going to happen?
No, I'm definitely not keeping it in my back pocket. That was my intention from day one, and I communicated with my team. I said, look, guys, I'm in this for 5 years. I want to get enough money to launch the next thing. And at the beginning, it was enough money. Now I'm realizing I just need enough experience to get the next thing,
Yes.
right? And so that has
Yes.
nothing to do with the financial outcome. No, that was my intention from the beginning. And like I mentioned earlier, my wife and I are working on the e-commerce business.
Yeah.
So we're actually getting ready to launch that towards the end of June.
Awesome.
Start with one product, something that we can manage in between the two of us pretty easily, and then give that 6 months, let it start to build traction, and then potentially maybe launch the next product, depending what happens, right? We gotta get the reps in. We gotta make sure we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Make some mistakes.
For sure. And I believe, like I said earlier about the content too, is like that drives me. It gets me so hype, and I love that more than anything. So I can continue that with all the things that I'm gonna do in the future too. So really understanding marketing. Like I feel like I got like just normal engagement, just organic engagement. I feel like I got that on lock, right? Obviously, I still got room to grow and everything, but what I really need to focus on now is direct sales, right? So I can learn that aspect of it so that when I do go to launch this e-commerce thing, I know how to get money to come in the door, essentially,
Yes,
right?
yes. Build that revenue.
Yeah, and the organic does great of bringing people in the door, right? But at the same time, it's like direct sales is direct sales. Right? That's the goal of what you're trying to do. So I got like crazy long-term ambitions. I talked about my time in prison. I want to build a prison one day because I learned that they're all private. So we could do that. Anybody could just go create a prison and just make it a rat hole, essentially, and most of them are. So with that knowledge, why not create a place that has programs and systems in place to help people get licenses and not go back, right? The government and these prison systems make so much money on people coming back and staying in and never leaving that I just kind of want to break that mold. I want to create an environment that's more of like an assisted living, right? You may have to be in here for a couple of years, but you can learn the skills you need to be successful when you get out. Set you up with a job, set you up with housing, whatever it takes. And that kind of goes into line with why I started the Coat Drive too. The Coat Drive was for me to help people, but from a long-term perspective, to open homeless shelters one day and have the same programs in there, right? I got very, very fortunate to go through a 90-day boot camp. So basically, if you're under 36 months of prison time, you are eligible for this boot camp. And it's basically a 90-day kick you down, make you feel less than.
Okay.
But what it did for me is it taught me discipline, something that no one has ever taught me in my entire life. I didn't even know that was a thing, right? It was just kind of going through life, whatever. But you woke up at 5 o'clock every day. You drank a gallon of water every day. You did these things, and they set you up for success, right? Not every person has the same results, but me and one of my best friends, my co-defendant, has had success out, and we both attribute it to that program. Now, the crappy thing about it is last year they decided to cut funding and make that half the size of what it used to be. Okay. And unfortunately, my gut's telling me that they're going to continue to minimize it year after year. So if I can create environments where those same skills and attributes are, right, whether it's a prison, a homeless shelter, whatever it is, and you have stipulations on being there, that could potentially help a lot of people stay out and be with their families and stay sober and whatever those things are. So I have like a trillion ideas of things I want to do in life. Those core things are set. I know it's going to take me a long time to get there because you can't just start a prison, right?
Right.
It's going to be a lot of like back end stuff, a lot of money behind it, right? And I have to get the wealth to get to that point. So that's kind of one of my driving factors. That and everyone that's helped me get to this point, like one of my like closest friends growing up, his family is so awesome. Like they don't have money like that, right? They're still renting their home and then still doing their thing, just trying to figure it out. But like when I first got out, they gave me their car. You know what I'm saying? And like one day I'm going to buy them a house. Like I'm just
Yes.
that forever home that they can have. So like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in my life that the reason I want to accumulate wealth is so that I can take care of the people that help me get there essentially, and then hopefully help more people at scale.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I got this underwear company that I want to do. For every pair bought, a pair donated to the homeless in need. Start in Michigan, expand to Ohio, take over our country, and then worry about the other countries at the same time. So
Taking over the continents
For
now.
sure,
Look at
yeah.
this. This is amazing. You are full of ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like 16
like-
ideas just right there.
for sure, as my brain doesn't stop.
Yes, I love it. It reminds me, you said something about money and giving back.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I have a saying that we say to one another, which is money is only good for the good it can do.
For sure.
And we wholeheartedly believe in that. Like our money is to create experiences not only for our family and our family tree, but everyone around us
Absolutely.
in some way, shape, or form. So I love that. That's incredible. Well, so inspired by you. What an incredible journey you've been on, and it's just getting started in
just
the
the
realm,
beginning.
of this new chapter, right? I mean, it's season, reason, lifetime, right? You're just in a different chapter, different reason. So, I'm looking forward to keeping up with you and knowing more and more about where you're going to go next. So, thank you for being a friend of Thrive.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you. Thanks for being
for
here
welcoming
today.
me in, yeah.
Yes. All right, Matt. So I'm positive after this podcast, people are going to want to get at you and talk to you directly. So how can people find you?
Yeah, at this moment, you can find me at Rednaps Matt Kirschner. That's REDKNAPPS Matt K, and you'll be able to find me.